I am currently sick, but what I am sick of every time, in every game, is people playing smokes and having no idea how to use them, especially on Clove. So I'm gonna show you how to play every smokes agent on Bind. I'm not gonna show you how to play the agent itself, but I'm gonna show you how to play or how to place the smokes in a good way, so your team has an easy way to take the site or to defend the site. Something I also want to say, if I sound weird, that is because I'm actually sick, not just for the intro. I am actually sick right now. I'm also wearing a pretty big hoodie, which makes it a little hard for me to move. So if you see some mechanical errors on my part during the video, that's probably because of it. And in the end, I also just want to say, don't forget to leave a like and a sub, and also comment down in the comments which map you want to see next, and I will do another video on this map. And if you're wondering what makes me qualified of talking about how to play every single smokes agent, and especially where to place the smokes, I can only show you this. If I go to all acts, you can see I play a lot of different agents. And Astra being my 3rd most played agent, Viper my 4th most, Omen my 6th most, and then I have like even Harbor I have 50 hours on, and other than maybe a Clove, I have a lot of hours on almost any smokes agent, so I know where to place smokes and how to use them to a great way. And in my experience, I played a lot of different smokes agents on the map Bind. I think I played every single one except for a Clove, and in my opinion, Clove isn't really a smokes agent. Clove is a glorified duelist, so I would say I play every single smokes agent on the map Bind. And now to the ranking. I would say Astra is probably an A tier smokes agent on Bind, with Brim being an S tier because he can smoke in 3 different spots and he is pretty versatile. Then we go over towards Clove. Clove, C tier, because her smokes don't hold for too long, and having long-lasting smokes or big smokes is a pretty important thing on a map like Bind. And then we go over to Harbor. Harbor I would also put in the C tier. He is pretty useful in certain situations, especially his ult is pretty strong, but just smoking is a pretty hard thing you can do with a Harbor. Not saying it is impossible, I did play him myself for a couple of times. I think I have like at least 20 games on him on this map. But if you don't use him right, it is pretty hard to smoke with him. Then going over towards Omen. In my opinion, Omen is also an A tier smokes agent on this map. Especially his ability to have free charging smokes and being able to place smokes higher and lower is a pretty good thing. And also his TPs and his flash are in general pretty strong abilities. And now to Viper. If you play solo smokes Viper is an F tier smokes agent on this map. But if you play double smokes Viper, I would put her in the S tier with a Brim, for example. Because most of the times when you watch pro plays, you will see a Viper and her defensive potential is pretty high. And her stall used to be a little bit better with 2 mollies, but still with one molly that lasts pretty long, and her walls being able to just go up on 1 button press are pretty good things to stall out the enemies. So I say Viper is an S tier smoker if you use another smoker, for example a Brim, Omen or Astra, and an F tier smoker if you use her alone. Other than that, I think that would be my rating. I'm gonna put Viper down again. If you think otherwise, let me know down in the comments. By the way, editing crazy here. I didn't really do much editing today because, first of all, as I just told you, I am still pretty sick. I don't feel that great. But on the other hand, there's also a lot of information in this video, and I think it is worth watching till towards the end. Right now, I'm at like 45 minutes of video, and I don't think it's gonna get any shorter. This is going to be a quick fire of going through every agent on like Bind on how to place their smokes. With an Astra, it's pretty simple. Like on most agents, you place a smoke right here. You can also use that smoke if you place it further out to see if somebody crosses over towards the copy. This smoke is pretty good because it blocks the enemies from coming up. What you can also do is just spam right here if you hear somebody jumping up or using util. This is a really good thing. If you want to smoke showers, there's 2 options. You can firstly place one right here if you don't want to take the showers area. With a smoke right here, especially if you place it a little further out, it's pretty hard for the enemies to get out. But make sure it is in line with this spot right here. You can also place a smoke right here in the beginning of the round, or actually recall that smoke to take this orb right here and to deter the enemies from pushing close here. Other things you can do on an Astra is to just place a smoke if you want to place it on a retake use one in short, either on top of the box or below. This is a pretty good smoke for a retake, and then use your second smokes you have for the retake on top of the spike. Usually the spike is going to be right here. If there's the spike right here, you're going to smoke the area right here first, and then after that you smoke the spike. You can set somebody on the spike and start defusing. The way to use your ult is a pretty simple thing. You don't use it if they are not inside already, you use it on a retake. And on retake, it really depends on where they planted. If they planted here close, probably the best wall you can do is one like this. Through this area right here, make sure they can see you or they can't hear you. If you start defusing then, and if you place another smoke on top here even, you have a free time defusing, and enemies have to walk through the wall, which is a pretty easy thing to hold from a couple of different angles, which is a pretty easy way to win the round after for your team. The other wall you can use is one like this one, either through here short, to stop them from peeking out short, or even closer to you here like this, if they have planted over here. You can then have your teammates playing in front of the smoke, even using some flashes through, or just in general try to distract them from you defusing behind the wall right here in a safe way. The good thing about an Astra wall is you can't shoot through. But you can, however, what you can, however, do is walk through it, which is a pretty dangerous thing, especially if you have a wall like this, so that people can walk up backside. Always have somebody holding the back part right here and somebody holding the front part right here or fighting them. In general, your Astra wall is pretty easy to use if you use it on a retake. Switching over towards B. B is pretty simple. You have 2 to 3 smokes you can place, one being right here to stop them from running out of long, and the other one is right here to stop them from coming out of hookah. These 2 smokes are the default smokes you want to use. If you want to play close in hookah, you can use another smoke. That's this one right here. This is especially good if you have a shotgun and the enemies don't have any information tool. For example, they don't have a Sova or a Fade. You can then play either close up here or play close here. This is especially good if you have shotguns, or even in an eco round by a shorty, get a kill and then go back. This smoke right here is one I only recommend if you have a teammate in playing in hookah itself. If you don't have a teammate, just use the smoke right here. You can also use a smoke or a recall smoke on long right here. Just either smoke or recall it, so your teammates can peek out of the smoke and then flash out and peek out. Other reasons why you would use this smoke is to just get the orb right here to get your team a easy ult. The way to use her wall is pretty similar to a Viper wall. It is like this. Like this, you block them off from hookah and you block them off from long. This wall is a pretty decent wall to use for a retake, and then you can use another wall on top of the spike to get a free defuse in. Like this, it makes it pretty hard for the enemies to come out of long and come out of hookah, and your team can just hold them waiting for them to come out, and you can just get a free defuse here. Another wall I've seen some uses, but it isn't a great wall, is this wall right here. This wall right here has the disadvantage of giving your team basically no space to take. So if you defusing here, the enemies can walk all the way up to here if you don't have anyone playing in front of the wall, and they can then easily just go in and get out again. So this wall is one I don't recommend. I recommend the one that goes through long and through hookah. Switching over towards Brimstone. Brimstone has pretty much the same smokes. You place one right here at the edge to smoke them off and give you kind of the one way to peek through here. It is like less space you can take through here, and if you play on top of here, you have a even better place to hold this one way. You can also spam through here if you hear somebody jumping up. If you want to smoke Bath, it's the same thing, either here or here. Launching smoke. If you want to take the space, smoke behind here. If you don't want to take the space and you hear somebody in Bath, for example, taking your job, smoke right here to stop them from coming out. You can also use your molly then to stop them from pushing out even further, and spam through this wall right here to do a lot of damage to them. For a retake, I recommend a short smoke right here. Smoke's down. Or one on top. And then if you can, or if you have a smoke spike and start defusing. Usually if you only have one smoke left at this point and you have the option of either smoking short or smoke the spike, it is always better because you can play inside of the smoke, start defusing. You can play inside of the smoke, start defusing, and give your teammate easy time on the retake. And the reason why not to smoke short, if you are in this situation, the people can just peek out of the smoke and insta see you. If you smoke the spike right here, even the people that are playing on short won't know exactly where you are at, and they have to spam blue, and your teammates can have a free time killing them. If you smoke short right here, and you don't have a smoke on spike, enemies can just peek out, see if you're on or not, and get a free kill. So always smoke the spike if you have only one smoke left. If you have two smokes left, smoke short and smoke the spike. And the same thing also if they planted for bath, smoke here and smoke the spike. If you have two smokes left, if you only have one smoke left, smoke the spike. That would be it for A. If you want to go on B, it is pretty much the same thing as on an Astra. You smoke either close here or long here. Or you smoke like this if you want to play close. Another smoke you can also use sometimes, but it is kind of indicative of where you play. If you use a smoke right here, it is most likely that somebody plays close here. So you can use a smoke right here. It isn't a bad smoke, it stops them from coming in, but it isn't a great smoke either because they know you have to play somewhere close and they're most likely going to use some util to get out. So in general, if they are coming B and you're not on B yourself, use a smoke right here on garden and one in hookah to stop them from pushing out. Switching over to everyone's favorite smoker, that is Clove. Clove can also do the same thing on short right here, or right here on bath. You can also use the smoke steep, like this, to stop them from pushing in towards the showers area right here. In general, I would say Clove is the worst smoker at doing her job as a smoker, but she is still pretty good in certain situations, especially if you play really aggressive and you play in quotations in a dumb way. So you walk in, you die, and then you can still smoke for your teammates. So in my opinion, playing a Clove isn't a good thing because you get away with way too much stupid things you do, and it kind of promotes playing in a stupid way because you can still smoke after you die, so it doesn't really matter for your team. So if you want to play a Clove, or if you want to become a smokes main, don't play a Clove. If you are just filling on smokes, play a Clove. It's fine with me, but I don't like playing with a Clove, and I don't like the enemies having a Clove because it's just really annoying, and most of the times the Clove players don't really know where to place their smokes. If you want to retake a Clove is actually pretty decent because you can use a smoke on short and one onto the spike because they are obviously rechargeable smokes. Same thing also for bath. Use a smoke here, use a smoke here. What you have to kind of worry though with Clove smokes, they don't hold for a long amount of time. So if you decide to smoke something, actually take the space right away after, because like that you get the most value out of your smokes. If you don't take the space right after, your smokes are gonna fade and they're not gonna be worth anything. So just smoking short for retaking the site, taking the site, and then smoking a second time for the spike is in general a pretty good idea. So you can start to diffuse and the short smoke is gonna fade, but the smoke on the spike is not gonna fade right away. Switching over towards B. B, it is still pretty much the same thing. One smoke I actually recommend if you have a Clove to use is the one deep in long every round. If you are playing B, use the smoke almost every round because you can farm this orb pretty easily and your smokes are gonna come back pretty fast. This is in general a pretty good thing of a Clove. Smokes are recharging fast, but they're also fading pretty fast. So if you play a Clove, just remember you have to always re-smoke right away if your teammates need to smoke somewhere. So always be aware that you need to smoke fast. It is also pretty good to use a smoke like this one if you want to have teammates TPing. This smoke isn't the greatest smoke on any other agent, but on a Clove you can get away with it because it fades pretty quickly. And your teammate that is TPing has a free time holding a crossfire here with you. But in general, I don't recommend using this smoke ever unless you're playing a Clove on Bind. Switching over towards Harbor. Harbor is most likely the least played agent on this map, but I don't really get why. He is really good at stopping the enemies from pushing out towards A. You can use, for example, a wall like this and then one through the area close here at showers. It is even easier to place if you're doing it from here. So you block off showers area and you block off short with just one wall, and that wall is even rechargeable. So if you have a lot of people coming through showers, you can use another cascade to stop them from coming out here. Same thing on short. If you have a lot of people coming short, you can use a cascade to stop them. Other than that, on the retake, I recommend you use a wall either from all the way back here, like this. This wall seems in one way pretty dumb, but it is a pretty good smoke, especially because you have your Harbor Bubble. With your Harbor Bubble, you can place it on the smoke and start diffusing, and your teammates can just hold this wall. it is pretty easy to hold because the enemies are gonna get slowed while they walk through, so anyone walking in is gonna be a free kill. Something you also don't really have to worry about is the showers area, the lamps area right here, because you can just wall it off with a harbor wall like this, and you stop them from pushing out here in a pretty easy way by just holding them and getting a free time to retake the site. The other ways to retake is one like this, where you wall like through here. So you wall a little edge right here, but it isn't like a big problem, and you wall off short. The other way to wall it off is if you come backside and you wall off the showers area, is like this, and you also wall parts of short as well. You can then throw a bubble here and start defusing. In my opinion, Harbor is a pretty strong agent, but most people don't like playing him because he's a little clunky and he's pretty hard to use. But if you play him long enough, you get kind of a feel for him and you realize how good a Harbor actually is. Switching over to SB, B is pretty much the same thing. I recommend you play an elbow actually though on a Harbor. On any other smokes agent, I don't recommend playing an elbow because you're pretty far away from A, but on a Harbor you don't have time to smoke A either way, so just playing right here is a pretty good thing, because like that you can wall off hookah and you can wall off the area close here.
Water rising.
If you do it in the right way, it should look something like this. The one wall I did before works too as well, but this one is a little bit better because you can also jump in here and hold them from this close corner, and this is a pretty unexpected corner. Something I like to do when I played Harbor on this map, I played with a friend of mine that played Yoru a lot. That's why I played the Harbor, because I could create some pockets where you could TP in. But in the beginning of the round, I used a wall like this one. This wall right here is not a bad wall because you first of all stop them from going here fast, and your teammate, especially if it is a Yoru or a Chamber, can easily walk close here and the enemies are gonna have no information. Like this, you stop them from getting into hookah pretty quickly, and you also stop them from getting into short pretty quickly. So this wall is a wall I recommend if you play a Harbor to start off here in hookah, and use this wall every round to make the enemy scared of somebody playing close here in the cubby and to kind of stop the fast pushes. Another option you have is to wall through the TP like this. This is more common on a Viper, but if you hear your team calling, yeah, they're going towards showers, you can use a wall like this to kind of stop them and give your team more time to take the orb right here and get the space right here as well. Other things, especially if you're playing B, is to just cycle your cascades. So if you are playing an elbow, you first walled, you can then use a cascade like this to stop them from coming out long. Or you can even cross over with your first wall and go towards backside, because from backside you can cascade hookah as well, and you can also cascade long in a pretty easy way. In general, I only recommend to use your bubble for plants and diffuses. Don't use it in any other situation because it is just a bad smoke, because you can throw it but you can spam through and it doesn't really stop the enemies from pushing out, because it is more or less a safe spot where they can be in, and then they just flash out and your team has a pretty hard time to hold the site after that. Switching over towards Omen. Omen is pretty much the same thing as any other smokes agent, just smoke short with a smoke right here, and if they are coming towards showers, smoke right here, or if you want to take the shower space, right here. One thing you can do on an Omen that is actually pretty unexpected is to start the round off up here and then hold the enemies that are coming out of main. This is a pretty unexpected play, and especially when you do it like once or twice in a game, the enemies are not going to be ready for it. They're going to walk in, you can get your kill, and then you can TP out. It is kind of a risky play, and doing it every round is not worth it. One more thing you can do on an Omen is to also smoke deep.
Cover going out.
Like this, to take the space here close, even play close here, get a kill, and then TP out. This is a pretty risky play as well, but it gets you some kills sometimes. Something you can also do on an Omen that is not smokes related, but I really like doing it, is using fake TPs like this to fake the enemies out of thinking, yeah, you went in towards the TP, and in reality you just TP'd back. Switching over towards B. B is also pretty simple with an Omen. You can either smoke long to get the orb on long.
Shadows traveling.
You can also smoke here if you want to play close.
Shadows traveling.
And something that is unique to an Omen, and it is kind of troll, but it works sometimes, is to actually smoke really deep,
Cover going out.
like this, and makes it seem like nobody can be in the smoke here close, and you yourself are just standing in it and looking at the bottom. I feel like this smoke is a little too low, but if you do it like around here,
Cover going out.
the enemies are not gonna think you're in the smoke, and you can just hold them with a shorty, or like even a classic works too, just to get some damage off of the enemies, and they're gonna be scared to push you, just because they think you messed up your smoke right here, and it is a pretty good way to throw the enemies off. Other than that, smoking like this is probably the easiest way to smokes, because you stop them from pushing out of hookah pretty easily, and you stop them from coming out low. Switching over towards Viper. Viper is probably the best defensive smokes you can have, because you can basically clear all the 3 angles with just a single Viper orb. You can use a orb right here, and then using a wall from hookah, you get yourself all the way stuck in the corner, and then you aim at around this area right here. Make sure this part of your triangles is at the end, is at the end of the hookah door, and then you aim at around the height of this cushion right here. Make sure it is at the right height. If you place it too high, it's not gonna go through the TP, and if you place it too low, it's not gonna cover all of the area. Like this, your wall is gonna go through the TP, and if you put it up,
Toxins going up.
it also covers this area right here, and your teammates can walk up and even hold this closed area right here with an AWP or something like that. This wall is in pro play probably the most common wall on Bind, and it is actually a pretty good wall because you can put it up in the beginning of the round. You can also put it up after the enemies are trying to take B, or just in general put it up to make the enemies think, yeah, you are thinking that they are towards B. For A, using the orb is a pretty good thing, and something you can do with this orb is actually a pretty rarely thing, but it works pretty well. If you're playing close here, and you open up the orb, you can walk inside of the orb, jump up here, and then go on top here. This is really unexpected, and nobody's gonna expect a Viper in this spot right here, and then you can drop the orb and collect some free kills, or you can just wait for somebody to walk in. I think I have this play from Nats, I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, this play is a pretty unexpected play, and is similar to the Omen play I showed you before. Nobody's gonna expect this, and it is in general a pretty good thing. Other things you can do with the Viper Orb is place it like any other smoke, place it for example here. Switching over towards attack. Attack is where most people struggle to place smokes, and I can see why. Especially on A, it is pretty hard to place good smokes. On an Astra, it is actually a pretty simple thing. You just place a smoke right here, and you place a smoke right here. This is especially good if you have teammates that are coming through showers as well. With smokes like this, you put out the default spots where people can be at, and you also kind of block the heaven area right there. The other options for Astra smokes, if you want to take the backside as well, is a smoke right here and a smoke right here in heaven. With smokes like these, you want to take the backside as well, and you kind of tell that to the enemies if they are at least a decent level. And it is pretty important that you actually also take the backside, else your smokes are not going to be used for anything. This is especially good if you are faking, for example, B. A lot of people have already rotated over, you might have gotten a kill or two, and then you decide to TP. Using a smoke here and a smoke in tower blocks off all of the possible entrances for the enemies to come in, and it is in general a pretty good smoke to use. Other smokes you can use is one like this, if you don't have anyone coming through showers. Give your team a decent amount of space, and then you can just go for the plant. Something I also see a lot of players do, and that happened to me in one of my recent games, are smokes like these. A lot of people don't realize, but these smokes actually take away space from your team, and it is not a really good smoke. These smokes can be used if you have, for example, a sage to wall off this area, but if you use these smokes in any other way, it isn't a great smoke, because you give the enemies so much space to be at, so they can play behind here, behind the smokes, they can also play behind here, and they can just spray you as soon as you start planting. This is a pretty bad thing, because the plant is probably the most important thing you need to get down, so placing smokes right here and right here are way better, because you give your team more space to take, and if you take this space right here, you can play it almost everywhere on the on the on the bomb site, and you can just get a free plant in with people holding this area for you. If you want to use your ult to take a site, you can use a ult like this one.
Well divided.
You just need to be aware that you can't really take the area behind lamps right here, because you kind of block off your team from going in. This wall is a decent wall, and you have to have somebody holding these areas right here, and then you can go for a free plant. And you can also combine that with a recall star right here to take this area, to make the people walk out, because they're not going to think it's going to be a recall, and you can get some free kills off of that. Other than that, I think that would be the default A smokes. You can also combine these smokes with, for example, like these. If you want to take the backside area as well, if you have a lot of people coming through showers, these smokes are pretty good. You have to clear the close corner here, which this smoke allows you to, because it covers you from CT. And like that, you can also clear out backside and clear out the heaven area and get your team more space on the side. It always depends on what your team wants to take. So if your team just wants to get down the plant using a smoke right here, and right here is probably the easiest thing. If your team wants to take more space, using smokes like this are pretty good.
Recovering it. Lead that back.
And if you want if your team wants to take all of the side, smokes like these are the ones I recommend.
Concealment.
One smoke I do not recommend in any circumstance is this smoke right here. Do not smoke this area. It is so incredibly bad because the enemies can just hide in it, and especially if you're planting, they can even spam it from here. This smoke gives your team even less space to take, so if you use smokes like these,
without a blocking vision,
your team has basically no space on the side. You can barely even get down the spike, and if the enemies play a little with a little brain, these smokes are just in general really bad because the enemies can just spam through them and they can do a lot of damage on the person that is planting. What you can do on an Astra, but only on an Astra, is to place a smoke right here and then recall the star, so you can clear out these close corners as a team. If you have somebody playing in this angle all the time, just use a flash to get him out, or use other util to get him out of this area. Don't use a smoke to block him off, because you also block your team off from taking the lamps area. Switching over to a speed. B, however, is pretty simple. Just use a smoke right here and right here. Blocking of elbow and blocking of CT. These two smokes are the ones you're going to use almost every round. Some other smokes I've seen that aren't too great but can be used especially on eco rounds are smokes like these.
Taking that back. Leave that back.
But those two smokes are like a similar thing as on A when you smoke yourself off. You kind of don't give your team a lot of space to play with, and you block your team from taking backside. So using these two smokes I don't recommend. If you use them, or if you want to use them, only use them on an eco round where you don't have good weapons either way, so you can jump into these smoke and clear them out like this. Other than that, just using a smoke here and a smoke here is what I recommend. If you want to use a ult on B, it is pretty hard to use it right. Using a ult like this is probably not a bad idea, because you kind of block them off from the CT area, and it is especially good if you're trying to take this area right here, or if you have like a Sky that can flash through here to flash anyone that is playing CT. Another smoke or another ult I've seen people use is something like this.
Well divided.
This ult suffers a similar thing as the smokes I just showed you. You kind of block your team from taking backside, but if you don't have any good weapons, this ult can be used sometimes. Other than that, one thing I actually recommend you do sometimes is, especially if you want to take long, is to place a star right here. If they have an AWP on long, for example on a chamber or a Yoru or a jet, recalling a star right here and then having a couple of people playing here close, peeking them, is a pretty good idea, because the enemies are going to be overwhelmed because there's like a couple of players here. Switching over towards Brim. Brim is probably the best smoker on this map. He is played in a lot of pro games, and he's also pretty good at smoking all of the three chokes you have to worry about. You can use Brim smokes like these.
Fully smoked.
If you want to use all three Brim smokes like that, you stop them from pushing out of backside, and you also stop the enemies from peeking out of heaven. Another smoke I've seen some Brim players use is one like this, where they smoke on top here, and then use these two smokes.
Fully smoked.
I don't fully recommend using a smoke up here, because it kind of gives them the ability to play in it, and like the reason for people using this smoke is because they have a chamber here. But if you have a chamber here, just use a flash or use a stun, or just use any util to get him out of this spot. Don't use a smoke, especially not a Brim smoke. because Brim smokes are holding for a really long amount of time, and if you want to go for a plant down here, the chamber that is still on top here can just see your head and tap you for free. So smoking up here is not a good idea. Other smokes you can use are as well like these two.
Launching smoke.
If you want to take all of the space, again, don't smoke
Right
here. Or if you don't want to take a lot of space, you can use smokes like these.
Launching smoke.
These smokes are okay. You also have then one more to play with, and in general, it is a pretty good thing. What you can use with Brim smokes and with some other smokes as well is to place a smoke right here, especially if you have planted here. Because like that, you one-way the person that is trying to go for the defuse. And something a lot of people don't know, you can also use a Brim smoke to guide your molly lineups. You can use it like this, look up, place a smoke,
Down.
and then aim at around where the smoke dropped.
Molly.
Your molly is gonna fly and then bounce at around the same spot where your smokes are at. You can see it right here. It landed on top of these stairs, but it would have landed right on the
here.
smoke. You can also use that from showers or from short. Just look up, place your smoke, preferably on top of the drop.
Launching smoke.
Aim where it is.
Molly.
And then your molly is probably gonna land on top of the smoke, especially because it gets blocked by the area
here.
back here. And you have a free lineup from all over the map. Switching over to its B.
Stim beacon down.
On B, smoking the same way as on an Astra is the preferred way to
Launching
smoke.
smoke.
Smoking here, smoking here. Easy smokes, pretty easy to place. They're gonna last long because they're Brim smokes. And these two smokes are all you need on B. Do not smoke like I just showed you on Astra as well, because your smokes are gonna hold for a longer amount of time. These two smokes are really bad. What you can also do on a Brim, however, is if you don't want to take the hookah space, is to use smokes like this.
Fully smoked.
Brim is the only character that can smoke off all of the 3 chokes. So if you know somebody is in hookah, always playing with a shotgun or something like that, just smoke that person out. They're not going to come out of hookah anytime soon because your whole team is on the side. If you don't want to take hookah, just say to your team, fuck hookah, I'm going to smoke it. Smoke here, and smoke hookah, and you have a free time planting on site. Switching over towards Clove. Clove smokes are probably the worst smokes to take aside, especially on bind. Because you can smoke like any other agent usually does. But first of all, Clove smokes are pretty small, and you only have 2 of them, and they're gonna fade pretty quickly. So if you want to take site, actually rather smoke too late than too early. Because if your smokes are fading while your team is taking site, they're not worth anything. So wait for your team to already be ready to go out, have your smokes placed. I recommend these 2 smokes on the Clove,
Dropping smoke.
and then take the site. You can also obviously use the smoke in tower and in CT if you want to take the backside area, but that requires a lot of util, so I don't recommend using these 2 smokes most of the time. Other smokes you can also use is one like this and one like this.
Dropping smokes.
You just give your team less space to take, and in general using these 2 smokes isn't bad, but it is also not the greatest 2 smokes you can use. The good thing about the Clove, however, is though you can play pretty aggressive on site, and you can then re-smoke things for your team even if you die. For a re-smoke, I recommend either smoking here to stop the people from coming out of backside, or re-smoking over here to stop the people from picking you from bench. So you have to one isolated angle, just focusing on the people coming out of here, or the people that are coming out of bench. Switching over to its B now. On B, same thing. Smoke here, and your job is done. Also wait for a couple of seconds because most of the times your team isn't entering really fast. So if your team is waiting for a couple of seconds, have the smokes ready. And as soon as you see somebody going in, for example your raise or your jet, drop the smokes. The same thing can also be done as on a Brim where you smoke CT and you smoke hookah. And then you have to take the elbow area, which is not too hard with a Clove, just use a metal right here to damage the people that are playing close, and then take this area. If you don't smoke elbow and if you smoke hookah and CT, you have to take the elbow area. Else your team is not going to be able to get a plant down because the person in elbow can just peek out and spray the enemies or just use some util, for example a Brim molly or like a Clove metal thrown at the planter, and they're gonna be low and a free kill for it. Switching over towards Harbor. Harbor is the only agent where it actually matters where you go. You should be able to take either the area close here with a cascade like this, walking up behind it and then holding this angle right here, and then you are in showers. From showers, you can then smoke like
Walls
this.
up. Walls up.
And you block them off from playing backside, or you block them off in backside itself, and this wall is usually all you need to take a side. The other option is to walk down short, but short smokes aren't that good because you also kind of wall yourself off of hookah.
Wave crashing.
You can use a cascade like this and then get into this
rising.
corner and use a wall like this. Short smokes are not that great because you leave a huge gap right here. You can close that gap with a cascade
Flooding them.
like this, and then go towards side and start planting in your bubble. If you are playing a harbor and you want to take A, I'd always recommend to go showers, because from showers you can smoke more area.
Walls up.
You can also smoke off heaven and CT if you place it right, but in general you can also just use a cascade to smoke off heaven if you want to take the heaven area or the backside area, and then take this area. In general, Harbor's walls are pretty hard to use, so if you want to play a Harbor on this map, which isn't a bad choice by the way, because his ult is pretty strong and his walls give him a lot of stall util, I recommend you use him in either some Swift plays or in some custom games to get the wall placement down in the right way.
Water rising.
Even though I myself play a lot of Harbor, I don't have the wall placement fully down already, and I sometimes mess up my walls. But walls like these are in general pretty good to take the side. You can also then use a cascade towards CT to take the more backside space, or yeah, that's basically it. Switching over to his B. B, you also don't want to be in hookah. You can smoke from hookah, but you can't really smoke the elbow area, which kind of sucks. If you want to go, if you want to smoke in a good way, you can take long with a cascade like this. You don't even really need to peek, just use a cascade, and then hold the person that is coming up. You can just let it go all the way through, and then you go right here.
Walls up.
And like that, you can wall off the elbow area and CT pretty easily. What I used when I played with my Euro duo is this corner right here to TP in with a Euro. If you don't have a Euro to TP in here, I recommend to clear this out by just either spraying it, so you know nobody is back here, or just waiting for your wall to go down. To re-smoke, I recommend to use a cascade right here. You can even send one in deeper if you have all of the space in elbow, to stop them from pushing out towards CT. And in general, these cascades will help you a lot. You can then, if you want to re-smoke with your wall, get close here and wall like this to stop them from coming out of the CT area, and you can just hold them. You can also use a wall like this. It is kind of a waste of a wall because it only covers this short area right here, but it works the same way. What you can also do is something like this to make them slow while they're rotating in, because they have to go through 3 parts of your wall. One part here being they're gonna be slowed, then one part here they're gonna be slowed, and if they want to come out they're gonna be slowed as well. Again, use your bubbles to go for a plant. Pretty simple. And if you want to also block off the hookah area, you can use a cascade like this one, where you go close here and then stop it right away to kind of block it off, but it isn't a great block off, and in general I don't recommend using a cascade right here. Switching over towards an Omen. Omen is pretty much the same as any other smokes. Place one here, and then place one here.
Cover going out.
You can also place one here if you don't want to use the back area right there and you have nobody coming through showers. What you could also do on an Omen that is not too risky, but it is a pretty good play sometimes, especially on eco rounds or on bonus rounds, is to place a smoke up here and use the other smoke right here.
Cover going out.
And then you yourself are running in front, TP in towards the smoke, and then using your second TP to get towards backside. This is kind of a risky play, but it pays out most of the times, because the enemies that are gonna be playing here are gonna be waiting here. They're gonna hear one TP, and especially because your team is coming in, they're gonna hear a lot of steps, and the second TP is more or less gonna be a TP they're not gonna be fully aware of, and they're not gonna turn around. You can then be back here and collect your free kills. This play works 9 out of 10 times. If you have really aware enemies, they're gonna turn around, but in general, this play is a pretty good play. I don't recommend doing it all of the time, so if you do it once in a game or maybe twice, it works, but if you do it like almost every round, it doesn't work anymore.
Cover going out.
Using that in a pretty quick way is just like this. And now you're behind the enemies and you can clear out the backside area. Make sure you don't, you are not the guy with the spike if you go for that play. It isn't a good play if you have the spike, because if you get one kill and then die, the enemies or your team has to take the backside area again to get the spike and plant. The other smokes you can use are obviously one here in heaven and one right here.
Cover going out.
Towards CT if you want to take the backside area as well. Another option you have for smokes. Another option you have for smokes is one up here.
Cover going out.
And one right here.
Shadows traveling.
And then you can TP in towards the smoke. And then TP on top. And then TP on top of the box. This is a pretty decent entry, and because you have a smoke right here.
Cover going out.
And a smoke right here.
Shadows traveling.
The enemies from CT won't be able to see you. And the enemies that are playing close here might think you have TP towards heaven. You can also use a flash towards backside to clear those people out, and then you can get a free kill on the people that are playing close here, because they're not gonna expect you to TP in towards here and then TP back up here. It is a pretty risky play again. Eco rounds are a prime spot for plays like these. And in general, if you want to do a risky Omen TP, don't do that against the enemy's eco rounds, because like that you kind of lose your team a gun and the enemies can then easily profit off of that gun. If you want to go B, B is pretty much the same way as on any other agent. Smoke here,
Cover going out.
smoke here,
Shadows traveling.
and you take site. There's also a variation of that, similar to the Brim thing.
Cover
You can
going
smoke
out.
hookah, smoke CT,
Shadows
and then take the elbow area with a flash.
traveling sight.
This is the good thing about Omen, his flash is pretty strong, so if you want to take the elbow area like this, it is pretty hard for the enemies to do anything against it, because they're going to be full blind either way, they can't really dodge that flash. You can then go side and get a free plant in, and your teammate takes the elbow area. Viper is the only agent it is kind of hard to smoke on this map in the right way. If you want to play a solo Viper on this map, using a wall like this is decent, but it is not the best. It suffers the same thing as any other smokes
Toxins going up.
that are just giving you small amount of space, because the enemies can just spray through it. What you however can do on a Viper, and the Viper is pretty much known for that, especially on this map and in pro play, is throw a lurk wall. A lurk wall is a wall that denies the enemies vision and makes it so your team can take some space without the enemies noticing it. This lurk wall is the most common one, because you can lurk on both sides of the wall. You can walk up here, and you can also walk up here without the enemies noticing it. You can then clear out the close corners right here, clear out this area right here, and then you can also drop the wall to get a good timing on the enemies that are playing in labs. You can combine a orb right here with this lurk wall to stop the enemies from seeing you on short. I don't have a lineup for this orb right here, because I don't play double smokes on this map, but I know a lot of people have lineups for this bot, so just search a Viper lurk orb on Bind and you'll find a lineup for this bot right here.
Poison's off. Toxin screen down.
Other than that, if you can combine with your wall that goes through here, you can combine a orb right here. It is pretty hard to throw right, and you are open towards here. So playing a solo smoke Viper is not recommended, but if you play double smoke Viper, using this lurk wall and lurk orb is a pretty good thing. Other things you can do is on long, similarly to a lurk orb on short, is one like this. This orb is pretty good, because you can take the area here on long, you can then drop the orb and fight the people that are playing behind it. And you can also use this orb right here. You can also use this orb right here to take the area close in the TP with a flash. If you want to smoke B, using a wall like this is probably the best wall, and then throwing a orb like this is probably the best thing you can do, but it is pretty hard to get it in the right way. As you just saw, I put it on top of the thing. I don't recommend you play a solo Viper on this map, but if you have to, using an orb in CT is probably the best way to smoke, and then using your wall for elbow. And in the end, I just want to say, don't forget to leave a like and a sub. And if you want to see more detailed agent guides, come watch my playlist on every agent on every map. I'm already on day 54 right there. And you should be able to find at least 1 or 2 videos about your favorite agents and I'm going to show you how to play them on different maps. Other than that, have a great rest of your day and see you guys very soon. Bye!